Sales is the most lucrative skill in the world, period. The problem is most sales advice out there today is outdated, cheesy, and could even keep you from the deals that can make all the difference in your career. This is the No BS Sales School, a podcast for entrepreneurs and salespeople who want to master the skill of selling without all the BS. Welcome to the No BS Sales School podcast. I'm your host, Walker McKay. Today, what I want to talk to you about is that sales, many of you know this, sales is not just about making a sale. It can also be about how do you keep a client, right? Keeping the sale after the sale is made. So I was talking to a client of mine yesterday. He's an attorney. He's got a client that's a large portion of his income. And he called me yesterday and he said, I'm scared. I said, for what? He said, I've got this client, again, large portion of my income, and the person I deal with, I'm afraid she's going to throw me under the bus. And he said, at some point, I got to stand up for myself and I got to figure out how to do that. I said, okay, tell me the story. And he said, I got to send in a lot of reports to let the company know what I've been doing. And this person that I deal with, all of a sudden she started giving me a hard time a couple of days ago over text and over other stuff, saying that I didn't give her the information that she needed. And that all of a sudden I was going to make her look bad when we went to court because she wasn't prepared for what we were doing. And she wasn't prepared at all. And she was, really mad at me. And he said, Walker, I've sent in reports on time forever. And clearly she's not reading the reports and she's the one at fault, not me. But how the hell do I do that? Her boss and her are going to meet with me on the phone and I'm afraid they're going to throw me under the bus. How do I do this? I said, man, I get it. And he said, I want to tell her to F off. And I said, I get it. But let's not do that because that would cause the same problem that you're worried about. And so it's very tricky. Right. And so let's go back to basics here for a second, right? Sales is never the place to get your own needs met. It's never the place to get your own needs met. While sometimes we want to tell somebody to fuck off and that would make us feel better and that would get that off our chest and we would be okay, you would win the battle and probably lose the war. Let's flip that around. Let's maybe lose the battle and win the war overall. I read a quote over the weekend that said, and I hate the word never, but it says, never take a short-term victory while sacrificing a long-term victory. Never take a short-term victory to sacrifice a long-term victory. And I thought, it makes a lot of sense. And so this is exactly what I'm talking about. You want to tell them to F off, but the reality is if you do that, it's going to hurt you. You win short-term maybe, and then you lose longer term, maybe immediately. Here's what I suggested he do. I said, if you get on the phone with the person or the person and the boss, and by the way, let's back up again. If you get a nasty email or a nasty text, pick up the phone. Never, never, never respond with text or email unless to say, let's discuss on the phone. That's all. Why? Well, first of all, you know how tough people can be behind email or text. They can blast you and say, blah, 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 and they can be heroes behind the text, but then face to face or over the phone, they're much nicer. Number two, we could also misunderstand what they're trying to say. We could take it as an offensive thing when in fact that was not what was meant. And or we can respond back. And then our tone can be perceived as wrong. We escalate the whole matter that we didn't understand in the first place. So you get a shitty email, shitty text. Whoa, what is this? Pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I got your text. Hey, I got your email. What's going on? Let's let that person explain to you in real time what they're dealing with, what's going on. Here's what I want you to do after they've explained to you. The worst, not the worst thing, but among the worst things you can do is to immediately jump back in and justify, defend, explain why you did what you did and what's happening, right? Here's how I want you to respond. And for some of you, you may struggle with this. Here's what I want you to say. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry this has happened. So sorry that we've got this mess. Just own it, right? I'm so sorry. And then I want you to pause before you say anything else. Have you ever called Verizon for example, or another one of these huge companies, and you're calling to complain, and you get the person at the 800 number, and you say, damn it, this blah, 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 this is happening. And they say, I'm so sorry, blah, 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 blah. And you know it's not, they don't mean it, right? It's on their script. They don't fucking mean it. I want you to say it as if you meant it. Even better if you mean it, right? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry this happened. When I was explaining this to my client, he said, this is not my fault, Walker. I said, totally get it. I don't want you to say it's your fault. I just want you to say, I'm so sorry. And if you have to say, you know what, I screwed up, my bad, that's fine too. Own the problem. Here's what I suggested to him. Say, I'm so sorry, and pause. And then I said, I feel terrible. I've been sending you reports with all this information in it, but hell, maybe you hadn't been getting them. I can show you the receipts. I can show you where I sent them. Maybe you just hadn't been getting them. That's terrible. I feel terrible. Right? He freaking knows he sent them. He freaking knows she got it. Give her the benefit of the doubt that maybe she didn't give them. Give her room to keep her dignity. Give them room to keep their dignity. Otherwise, if you say, I sent those damn things, this is your fault, don't push this shit on me, which is what we want to say, what happens is you'll end up losing that, right? You'll end up losing that war. Don't do that. Hey, man, I'm so sorry. Good grief. I went back and looked. I've sent you these reports with that information, but maybe they didn't go through. Here they are. I'll send them to you again. As a matter of fact, so and when you get it, look on page 36 for the first one and 32 for the second one and 19 for the third one, where I gave that information. Lord, I'm so sorry the way this thing's worked out. I'm so sorry for this thing has worked out. Right? Give them space. Allow them to keep their dignity. Lose the battle, win the war. You just got to tell them, I sent you this shit. You just didn't read it, but you didn't say it that way, right? Do you hear the tone of my voice? I'm so sorry. God, I sent it, but maybe you just didn't get them. I'm not accusing. I'm not attacking. I'm taking credit for the problem, even though it's ridiculous, right? I'm giving them a way out. And it's okay, right? Preserve their dignity. That way you can keep the relationship. If you mash them, if you hit them with a hammer, if you tell them they're freaking stupid and they've lost their minds and F you for pushing this off on me, okay, you win. But you'll also probably, most likely, definitely lose the client and the relationship. I had a problem with a client of mine. Well, with somebody that I hire a couple of weeks ago. And I called them and I said, John, I got to tell you something. I'm concerned because this is what I see happening. And this is not what I wanted to happen. And I'm really worried about this. And immediately for the first 2 minutes, John, he sounded defensive, began to justify, defend, explain everything that's going on. And I could feel the hackles on my neck climbing up. I could feel I was getting pissed because there was no ownership of it. But after about 2 minutes, took a breath and he said, I'm really sorry. Sorry that was your experience. Let me see what I can do to fix it. And then we got real, right? When somebody calls you pissed off, first thing I want you to do is say, I'm sorry. Clearly we screwed up. Even if you didn't, just take ownership of it for a minute. Let the tensions drop. And then you can deal with the real issue. And by the way, if there is a problem, right, and you did screw up, I don't want you to make suggestions what you can do to fix it. I want you to say, what were you hoping I could do to fix this? What would make it right for you right now? If they say something ridiculous like, I want it for free and I want a year's worth of this for free going forward, say, well, suppose I can't do that. What else can I do? Right? Most of the time, what you offer to do, if you do it and you don't find out what they want, it'll be more than they expected, which is fine. But I would say if they say, look, just do this or just do that, it's probably enough. And then if you want to do what you said anyway, then you're giving them something extra. Here's the problem. If you offer a solution, they may accept that, but then they'll want what they wanted in the first place too. Protect yourself. Communicate with your client. Ask, what were you hoping I could do to make this thing right? And then do that. I'm Walker McKay with No BS Sales. don't blow up your clients. This is sales too. Thanks for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast. If you're struggling to close deals, then I want to invite you to take my free mini course, where you'll learn the 7 most expensive sales mistakes that will cost you time, money, and credibility. So be sure to click the link in the show notes or go to www.7salesmistakes.com. That's the number 7salesmistakes.com. Thanks again for listening to the No BS Sales School podcast.